So in the content now we have here one button for this map that is used to toggle this map. If the user interacts and wants to show again everything on the screen, he can use that. And I'm going to use this place for the menu controls. So I'm going to write a div with the ID menu controls, and inside it I'm going to have, let's say I'm going to put a label that says start game, and I want it to be big, so I'm going to write some CSS for it later. Let's just call it large text, and start game is the text. And inside here I want to have 3 buttons. And the buttons can be easy, medium, and hard. And on click I don't have the function yet, but I want to start game. And let's say that we have a parameter for it, 1 for easy, 2 for medium, and 3 for hard. So we will need a simple function that decides that. And yeah, let's try to make this function. So I'm going to our main JS. So our difficulty is going to be, and because I wasn't very detailed here, I'm going to write a comment. Now notice that most of the code is understandable so far, so I'm only putting comments in the places that are necessary. And here the difficulty is unclear. Does it start from 0? Is it a string? Is it a number? So I'm writing proper explanation in this case. Okay, and for the moment these buttons will not do anything, but let's move the initialize points. Yeah, let's move the initialize points here. So everything else will work, but the points are not initialized until I press the start game button. Let's see if this will have any effect. I'm saving the files, refreshing here. It doesn't work. Okay, maybe there is some. Yeah, there was some cache problem, because now I'm getting an error instead of, so yes, it's trying to concatenate something to targets when our location gets updated. So we are now in a state where we don't have the targets, but we are updating the location and we are looking for the targets. So we need to know what screen we are on, basically, inside the location update. So one way to do that is I'm going to put a variable here, a game started equal to false, which is going to become true inside the start game. And now we are going to go to our location handler, and on location update we will put the marker on the map, the user's location, but these bounds with the targets, anything that uses targets or nearest unvisited target, and anything more than that, I'm going to do only if the game is started. So it's not maybe the best way to do this, but it should work. And the project is relatively small, so global variables are something you should avoid usually. So adding one more is not good. Okay, now we try again. Okay, no more error, but the buttons are not visible anywhere. So we just added a lot of buttons which are, interesting. They are under the hard button. Okay, so there is the hard button there over the map button. I just didn't notice it. It's because of the CSS for these. So let's go and edit that. Basically, these are buttons, but the toggle map is some special in-game button. So let's just call it map btn. And in main CSS, I will change the CSS for main btn to be on the top, and okay, something is wrong. Oh, yes, sorry. Good point. It's a map btn. I think you wanted to say. Okay, so the map is there, but the rest of the buttons are not there. So now what does it take to get them up there? Well, I want them somewhere in the middle of the map, actually this whole menu controls. I prefer to use this editing, CSS editing, style editing section from here and play with that. So at least this absolute positioning, I think, is going to be needed. Okay, so now it's on the top left corner. I'm aligning the text to center, so now the start game is going inside, in the middle of this small section here. Maybe I'm going to put the width of this whole div to 100%. So now the width is actually covering the whole page. And this text align center, I'm not sure if you, now you can see better. So this text align center is forcing everything in the middle. And our font size, if you remember, I presented those viewport variables yesterday. So let's try 7VW. Okay, so this font size is more suitable. So I want the users to see what I'm implementing here. Okay, so this is okay, but we still don't have the styles for these buttons. I'm going to copy this from here, go to my CSS and paste them. So this will be the style I give to the menu controls div. And because I'm going to give them just to this ID, the syntax for CSS starts with the hashtag symbol, and then it's the ID name. Okay. And the BTNs, so for the buttons I also will need some font size at least. Let's try to keep everything, just the font size here. Refresh the page. Okay, now the buttons are a little bigger. They could be even bigger, so I could make it a 6, I think. And then if you want to do more styles here, then that's really possible. I would like to align this also to the middle part of the stage somehow. So in the menu controls, I'm going to put a top. Instead of 0, I'm going to put it I think I should put something like 40 VW. It may be too much. Yeah, maybe too much. Let's try with 20. And now I'm gonna rescale to see how it looks on different screen sizes. So it seems okay, but note that if you're playing the game in profiles mode, it doesn't move it too much from the top. I would prefer it to be the middle part of the screen. So instead of using this VW for the top, I'm going to actually use Vmax and try it again. It's a little more low. Sorry, I wanted to use VH, I think. No, it doesn't make any difference. So VH stands for the height, viewport height, maximum between the two between the two values, width or height, and W stands for the width of the viewport. But for some reason here, 20 VH is not adapting very well. Oh, okay, so it's like 20% of the viewport height. It is moving a little bit down, but the size of the text is also affecting here. Let's try put again a higher value for it. Okay, so now it starts in the middle of the screen. Basically this top part is in the middle of the screen, like 50%. That's what this 50 means for the height. But I don't want it exactly 50% because the text itself uses some space. So I'm just gonna move it a little bit more up. And yeah, and I'm gonna be happy with that. It's not gonna be perfectly in the center, but it seems to be usable on most screens. All right, and now if I press easy, stuff happens. So the game actually begins. Of course, I also want to hide these things. So maybe I will go to our main, hide menu items. Okay, main, hide main menu. And here we are just going to hide this whole menu controls part from here. So document, get element by ID. How was this? It was style. Display, none, maybe. No. I might have it somewhere here. It should be correct. Oh yes, it is correct. But I'm not calling it anywhere. So I also want to call it in the start game function. So this function for hiding the menu. So now refreshing, start the easy level, all of them will actually do the same. It doesn't matter at this stage, but I will have different properties, so the points will be different when we press the other buttons. Okay, and for this map, I actually want to replace it with some icon that I created. So I'm going to this index and yeah, I think I'm just going to create a div here. I had a PNG created with the name of toggle.png, so this will now look like something that you would press to change the view. And I need to give it a style of 100% width so that it fits the whole size that I designed for this map BTN. So this map BTN class still will go to the div here, I think. And pressing the div is still going to toggle the map. Let's see how this looks like.
You didn't close ENG.
Good point. I didn't. It's one of the tags in HTML that supports, that doesn't complain much if you don't close it. You might know others such as PR.
Okay.
It's also one of the tags that you can just write like that. And
yeah, I used to go down.
yeah, it's a new line.
Okay.
But not all of them require closing, but it's a good point. It should be closed. Some things may complain about it, but modern browsers aren't affected by that. Okay, so it's there, but maybe a little too big. So I'm going to edit now the CSS for the map BTN to maybe, and the font size is not needed anymore because I don't have text. Okay, so this is something I can work with, but again, I don't need this to appear on the map before I start the game. So one last thing that I want to take care of, I need to give this an ID, toggle BTN maybe, and I'm going to, this is quite a long function here. So show toggle button. Yeah, because we are not using any libraries for JavaScript and we have to write these very, very long functions all the time, it might make sense to make a function called hide. Give an element, and inside it just copy this very, very long thing from here and give it the element as the ID. So now instead of writing that horrible text, you might just do this one basically. So menu controls or toggle BTN. I don't really recommend anyone to program JavaScript like basic like this. I do recommend using some frameworks or at least some libraries, maybe like jQuery for accessing these elements. It will be more stable application. It will run on more browsers and less compatibility issues. But for this course, we stick to basic components and just that because you don't need to study any additional ones for this course if we stick to the basics. So that's the logic here. Okay. Yeah. Show toggle button should be actually show function, and the display for that is block, I think, or it can be just remove the none. Maybe something like that will work. So show toggle button is going to also happen when we start the game, and by default the toggle button is going to have a style display of none. So by default this button is not visible when we start the game, but when we press easy the button appears. And now, since we are still looking at the layout, note that I probably won't need the satellite view. I'm almost sure that I don't need the street view. I mean, they are very nice features, but I don't think they are useful for this game in particular, and they are using screen space. I also probably don't need to use these things. And behind this button on the top right is actually another button. It's for full screen. These actually don't even appear on the mobile variant of Google Maps unless you specifically add them yourself. But here, Google actually promotes itself. So it makes the default use many features. Now, to hide those features, because again, I don't really need them very much, I'm going to go to our function where we create the Google Map, and I'm going to say here, full screen control, false, street view control, false, zoom control, false, and map type control, false. So now the map is simpler. It's not very hard to do, and when I press the easy and the game yes?
Can we also
Remove
find Google? Yeah.
No.
Shit. Sorry.
No, and I have to say that I took some time to look into some things. I can't even change the position of them.
Can you draw a square in the bottom left?
Of course you can, but it's illegal. You can put this there, but it's not allowed to do so if you read the Google terms.
Oh.
And it's not allowed to move them, and you actually can't move them. If I want to put this copyright sign to the top right or top left, it's not allowed. Because if they allow to move this location, I can move it off screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason. I wanted to move this to the top right, also the Google logo, and to put the map toggle button at the bottom and not hide this. Because when you hold the phone, it's hard to reach with your thumb up in the top right corner to press that button. It depends about your phone and your hand size. So it's much nicer to have it in the bottom right corner. This is now usability point of view. But because of this, and I didn't want to hide that, and I tried moving it down a little bit on top of that copyright symbol text, it just doesn't look good. It looks too cluttered here with the button next to some text. So I will keep it on the top right for now. But very good point. Some things you can change like these, but some things you can't. And that's life. Okay. Great. So what do we have now? We have the game initializing when we press one of the buttons. How about we focus on generating the target locations? So now they are all coming from that fixed array here in initialize points, but I want to play this multiple times, and if I'm gonna play the game with the same layout all the time, it's gonna get boring. So I want the replayability aspect of the game. I want the points to be randomized. So how would we do that?
Just hide it. No, we'll write it.
So how would we do that? I would like to consider a few things. First of all, a variable for the number of points. So I will initialize this to 10, but then I will switch based on the difficulty. And I will say, if the difficulty is easy, number of points can be 8. if the difficulty is medium, I'm going to say 12. And if the difficulty is hard, I'm going to say 15. How I chose these, I played around with the values before and I checked the map to see how it looks. So it's just subjective decision of these values. Okay. Another thing I want to look at is the bounding box. By the bounding box, I mean how large game am I going to give to somebody who just pressed easy? Somebody who pressed easy, I'm not going to have them run around the whole city. I'm just going to give them a smaller area to play in. So this bounding box size, I'm going to default it to, okay, let's put these default to the easy parameters. So bounding box of 1 is going to mean 1 kilometer bounding region. And then I'm going to go bounding box 3, bounding box 5. These were not in my mock-up, but I thought that it's more interesting this way. Okay, so now we have these two different properties, number of points and bounding box size. So how would we generate them randomly? Well, I will have a for loop to generate each one, and then I'm going to look for a latitude. So where do I put it? I'm going to start with the user's location. So this is the user's location, its latitude, and I want to add it a value. So this value, I have now a bounding box of 1 kilometer, right? The length of it. So I want half of it to the left, half of it to the right from the user's location. So half a kilometer to the left, half kilometer to right, half to north and half to south. I want the user to be in the middle of the game area. It may not be a requirement, but just to get it started, to see how it looks like. So I take now this BB size divided by 2, and I'm going to multiply it by a random value. Now math random gives a value between 0 and 1, but I want them between negative 0.5 and positive 0.5. So I'm just going to minus 0.5. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is fine, sort of. Let's see what we get with that one. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the longitude. Okay, and I need to define now a point. I could have done this already in the beginning, but well. So I want my points to be in the same format as these ones. Okay. And we are just going to add them. Yeah, we are just going to add them to the map. So our array points, I reinitialize this. I overwrite that value. It's there just for reference now. And after I have my point, I push it to this points array. So now I have new points there. That's it. Refresh, easy game, error. Difficulty is not defined. True, the value for difficulty should be a parameter to the initialized points, and it should come from the start game function. So that was missing there. Refresh. Easy. Wow. Okay. It's not easy. So This would be a relatively hard game. Let's try again with the hard. Okay. All right, some things I'm noticing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still 8 targets. So here the number of points didn't change to 3 for some reason. Just a quick debugging. So here hard should be start game with 3. And here difficulty should come down as 3. So I'm not sure what is happening, but this number of points is not 15. It's 8. Okay, it's 8 for easy and 8 for hard. Wow. Anybody see it? No problem. Oh. Yeah, okay, so difficulty comes as 3. That is correct. But then initialize points. Okay, difficulty is 2. It still creates 8 points there. So what is happening here? These cases seem not to work.
If you write a if and not a switch, maybe it will work.
Well, maybe, but why does this not work?
Why are you using double dots instead of equal sign? Is this?
It's that.
Yeah, because you are doing CSS and maybe you.
Maybe, maybe, yes, maybe I'm doing too many things. Usually this kind of projects have more people doing them, and you don't mix so much the languages, otherwise these silly bugs start to appear. So thanks a lot. So hard, yeah, now there are more points. But what's happening here, this is not an easy game. And what's happening also with this longitude here and latitude, it's not a square. So I had minus 0.5 there. So this is between minus 0.5 and plus 1.5. I would have at least expected a square, but I don't get one. So this is where a little bit of the geography kicks in. If I'm going to give just math random 0.5, 0.5 in latitude or in longitude is going to be a very big value. I need this to be in kilometers. And a very fast way to do this conversion to kilometers is actually to divide by 111. And how did I get this number? If you look at the globe and you check the equator, so equator has to have 360 degrees and it has a fixed length, so I can calculate it, I know the radius. So it turns out that 1 degree is 111 kilometers, just by simple math. So I'm going to do that the same here also in the longitude. Oh, sorry. This goes here. Same for the longitude. Easy. This looks more like 1 kilometer, but I'm still getting this artifact stretching on the vertical axis. This wouldn't happen if I would create this game at the equator. Because at the equator, 1 degree of longitude is the same as 1 degree of latitude. But in Finland it's half of that. It's because it's at 60-degree latitude and cosine of 60 degrees is half. So I will need to somehow compensate for that in the case of the longitude here. And I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but I usually just try something and see what I get. So cosine of the latitude that I just calculated. So we are at a fixed latitude, and I want to have this value scaled by the cosine of that. And here note that I'm going to need to call from the measurement file the degree to radian conversion, because this is going to be a degree value, but the cosine function in JavaScript works with radians. So otherwise we will have some strange artifact there. I might have just got it right. It looks pretty decent. Okay, it looks pretty good. But I still have one problem with this generation of the data. Some points may be too close to each other. And I don't want that. I mean, at random, it could be that all points are just overlapping each other. It's very rare for probability, but I want some control over the way they are being generated. All right? Now, to do that, I'm going to use a lazy version, a lazy way. I'm going to do a repeat, a do while, something that I actually don't do very often. I'm going to repeat this entire random generation of a point until my distance to nearest point from the current point that I'm generating to all the points that I collected so far is going to be less than a threshold. So if my distance is larger than a set threshold, it's okay. Otherwise, I just try to repeat and get another random number until I'm fine. This threshold, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to say it is 150 meters. Okay, and I'm still going to need the function for distance to nearest point, which we actually don't have. We have one for get the nearest marker, but it's not the same thing. I'm just interested in the distance here, and I'm working with points. They are not markers yet. So for that one, so I have my current location and a set of points. And yeah, if our points are empty, if I don't have any points, okay, then I accept any distance. I accept any point. So I will say that I will return something like infinity. So if the distance to nearest point is infinity, I can put it here. It's far away from anything. It's just a test case here. Okay. Otherwise, I'm gonna just do a typical minimum search. So a minimum dist of -1 and iterate through all the points. Okay, let's move this screen a bit up. Calculate the new distance. with our get distance function of location and our current point. And if this distance is less than our minimum distance, or minimum distance is still our initialized value of -1, then update this minimum distance because we found a smaller one. So we have that, and we return this minimum distance. I think that should do it. I save the file, refresh. Okay. Some of them are still close in this hard mode, but that's because this threshold that I set here is more than 150 meters. Let's simulate with a higher threshold, maybe 400 meters, and see how that looks like. So now they are very sparse in this hard mode. Basically, any point that is less than 400 meters to anything else is not going to be allowed there. But this 400 meters may be too much for the easy difficulty level. Actually, I pressed easy now, and I think I'm in trouble because I think my browser, okay, my computer started hyperventilating. Can anyone know why?
Yeah, because it generates points all the time. And the threshold is...
Yeah, this becomes an infinite loop. So I have a threshold so high that for the 1 kilometer radius, it was not possible to fit all the points there. So not the best solution now, but I'm just going to go back and hopefully I can refresh this page. Browser doesn't even respond. It's common problem. Okay, so refreshing everything. Press easy again. Okay, for easy it looks good. All right, so we have now random points. These are not needed anymore, but oh wait. The special ones, the winner, the 50, and the public, they need to be added somewhere. Now, the good thing is all the points are going to be randomized. So basically, I can just put them to the first 3 points, same as here. They are still going to be random in the space because I don't know where the points are anyway. They are not sorted in with respect to anything. Basically, yeah, so that means that I can just do something like points of 0 special is equal to winner. So one of them is going to be the winner, the first one in the array. It can be useful for debugging purposes also. So I know how to fake the location if I want to try to get the winner or not. And the second one is 50, and the third one is public. Second one, third one. Yeah. So refreshing the page, pressing easy, it's something. And simulate playing, we have here
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, I will put the noise less because I might test this in the near future. I have some debugging console from yesterday here, location handler. So it's a good idea to remove unnecessary things because it would be impossible to debug something with so much text over there. So if you're adding these kind of values, also remember to take them out from there, which I didn't. So things still work, which is good with the new random locations. Now we are looking at the special features. So how about we figure out what to do with these 50-50 and the audience? I think that these are the last things to worry about. Okay, so let's see how that one will go. Whew. Yeah, so 50-50 and the public. If we go to our function for okay, where was this function? The one that was animating our oh yes, reveal animation. So this one was revealing if we got the winner or if we got something else than the winner. So here we had the case for the winner and default, which means anything else. But here now we want to take care of the cases when we are going to find the 50-50 and when we are going to find the public. So that's not going to be any Waldo there. It's just going to be an effect, a function being called. So if we are going to find the 50, I'm not actually going to change any URL. I might play a sound, but not this right sound. It's definitely not game over, but what does happen? So I'm going to put the function here, remove half unvisited targets. Okay, so this is just going to remove half of the places we haven't visited yet. Good. And another placeholder. Okay, and we don't want this thing anymore with the timeout. We don't want the effect of spinning around the location. We are not revealing anything here. People already know they're going to get the 50-50. So it's again something I don't really recommend doing. I'm going to return this function at this level. So this is very similar to this go-to statement before. The function doesn't continue as you would expect afterwards. It just stops working here. For simplicity now, I'm just going to do this, but it's go-to statements and these more than one return is something you would want to avoid. It destroys the sequence of the operations. So if you just read this code very quickly and you're focusing here, you assume that it will come here. But this will make it not. So from programming point of view, avoid using that if possible. Okay, public. So public is going to be, I'm just going to put a function here, score unvisited. So basically it's going to give some scores, probability scores, to the unvisited targets. Okay, and I'm going to write here remove half unvisited function and another one score unvisited function. So these I have to write now, but I'm also going to do something else. I'm going to make the marker for 50 and for public disappear. If you take it, it's not there anymore. You can't take it again. So I want to make it, how to say, I don't want to, yeah, I don't want the user to see it there anymore. It's not going to be allowed to take it again because we already mark it as visited. So our code is already taking care of it, but visually we are not telling that to the user. The reveal is telling visually to the user, yes, this is a Mopsi or not, but for this one, it will still look same if I don't do anything for it. So basically, I have the marker here. I think the function is set options opacity. I'm going to put it to 0, and we just see what happens. So, right, and I do want to play some sounds here. Oh, sorry. This was correct. This, I made a mistake. I was looking in the default case. I do want to play some sounds there, but for the moment, let's just leave it like that. And now, refresh here, some errors. Okay, set options. Oh, set options is a function, but it expects an object with attribute opacity inside. So I don't know what I was doing. Okay, easy game. And I'm going to go back to console and fake my position to the second target's get position. So the second target is going to be one of those two. So 50-50 went away. And if I go to the third one, the public went away. But if I'm going to go to fourth one, I still get the normal reveal. And if I'm going to go to the first one, which is the correct one, game over. So functionality is there visually, but I still don't get the effect I want, this remove half of the unvisited and score unvisited. So let's start with that. Okay. So I need the function there. And what I want to do now okay, I think we have somewhere get unvisited targets, do we? Okay, get unvisited targets. I'm going to take this function and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to rename it get unvisited wrong targets. Why I'm doing that is because in the 50-50, I don't want to reveal the correct one. So I want to remove half of the things that are wrong. This function is a bad idea. You don't copy code. You make code support different options. Like maybe here it could have something like omit wrong or something like that. And then the same function can be used in multiple places at the same time. Now I do this because I don't have time to worry about things like that. But keep in mind, and you might have exercise tasks how to improve later. So, okay. So we have now these wrong targets somewhere. So the targets are here. So we just, if it has not visited, and if the special property is not winner, and if the special property is not 50 and is not public. Actually, I don't need so many ands. I can just say if the special property is null. Note, I also don't want to reveal the audience or the 50-50. So I'm looking for something that is not special. So if it is not special and not visited, add it into the list.
But
Yeah.
if you go to this function, it means that you already go on the 50-50. So the 50-50 is already visited.
This is when I visit, when I reach the 50-50. This will be called then.
Okay.
So this only collects targets. I think it will become clear. Let's see. So remove half unvisited. I will get all the unvisited wrong targets from there. So these are, yeah, I'm going to shuffle them. And I'm gonna reveal them. So note, I'm going in this for loop until the length of the array divided by 2. I just want to reveal half of them. And then I have my function here for the oh yeah, it was here. The reveal animation, I'm going to call it for targets of I and the index of 0. So the index was for the animation purposes. I want to start the animation from scratch. So I save this. Easy. Fake position of 1. I took it and it revealed 3. Now if you make this go all the way until the end, it's gonna reveal everything.
But not the good.
Yeah, but not the correct one.
Not the special.
Yeah. So again, and not the other special one. So these gets all the targets that you can remove, randomize all of them, take just half of them, and reveal them. So I think logic is pretty straightforward. Okay. So that's done. Last thing is the scoring of unvisited targets. And this may be a bit more difficult. I hope it's going to be clear. So, yeah, so for the scoring, how do you do the scoring in practice? Like if you consider the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type of scoring. You have an audience, and each person in the audience votes something. Right? Let's start with that. I'm going to simulate the audience. So I'm going to say audience size is 10 people. Let's just consider 10 people. Now, I'm going to say 4 people there know what they are talking about. 4 people there know where the target is. All the others are going to guess. Let's see. And I'm going to need an array. I'm going to call it scores. That will keep every person's score somehow. I'm going to need the unvisited targets. Let's take the unvisited wrong targets from before, okay? And I'm going to push the correct target into this list. So I'm reusing that function somehow. unvisited plus the core, all unvisited. For each of them, I'm going to do the same scoring, I think. I mean, okay. I could shuffle them again, but I don't think this is necessarily needed.
Why is it necessary to shuffle them for the first function? Because it's already randomized. So when you shuffle in random way, random numbers, it doesn't change.
You are right. You are right. You don't need that. You may need it for debugging purposes. Sometimes you might want to try exactly the same input, but different results, different random results. So if I'm going to have the same organized input, I would like to shuffle it to get the different ones removed at the same time. You don't need this for the game. I actually will remove it now. And I will mark here a comment for debugging. The reason it's here is because it's in my notes, because I experimented with it while creating the app first time, and I forgot to remove it in the final variant. So here I suspect the same. I don't really need to shuffle this. Yeah. Okay, but let's put the scores now. So I move now this variable down here because I'm talking about scores, and I vote for the people. So I'm going to have the people that don't know what they're talking about vote randomly. So for each unknowledgeable person, I'm going to have to select an item from the list, and I'm going to use this function for that. Okay, a bit confusing function maybe. I will take a random element from the list. I will actually take a random element from half the list. So I want the knowledgeable audience not to consider everything, but to consider just half of the list. So even the unknowledgeable audience have some kind of idea where it is. It's only in one half of the list. Okay. Now, if the scores array for the selected item is going to be null, then the scores just get this one score. Otherwise, the score for this selected element increases by 1. So I'm giving scores for the people that don't know the correct answer. And now I'm going to take the last element in that list. So yeah, so I'm going to take scores of how many are in that list. So the length -1 because indexing starts at 0. So this is now the correct item. So I put the correct target, the last one, in this new list of unvisited targets that need scoring. Right. Okay. I don't like this. I prefer it to be still in the beginning. So I don't remember how to do that. I think the function is called shift. No, it is unshift. adds one more element to the beginning of an array. So instead of push, unshift the target, so it's still going to be the first one. For consistency, I want to keep the correct answer first. So the score for the first one is going to get the value from the knowledgeable audience here. And that's it. Let's just log this into the console to see how they look like. So if this function is really working in any way. So I start the game with easy, score unvisited. Okay, we get a 811. Hopefully 8 stands for the first one. I do it again. 7 empty 3. Interesting. 631. 7 empty 3. 721. 7 empty 3. What is this empty? Okay, I think it just means that it randomly selected just one element from half the list. So it could be that we only have 2 items scored. In this case, we have 3 items scored. If we go to the hard mode, we will have more items scored.
Not a number.
Yeah, not the number. This is because the first score, before I add anything, should be checked if it is null. So if our first score is null, make it 0 so that I can add a new number to it. Or I could have just...
Make it knowledge audience.
Yeah, maybe it's more clear that way. Else, increase it by the knowledgeable audience. This is more clear.
Increasing by 1.
So it's possible that some of the people that don't know what they're talking about are still going to vote the first target, the correct one.
Yeah.
And I know that 4 people in the list know exactly what is the correct target. So that's why these 4 people are going to give a score for the correct one. You can look at this later, but let's try this again. So, okay, I'm not getting any more not a number. I'm getting different values for half of the targets on the map. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks like. Yeah. So finally, I need to display this result somehow, and I'm going to write the function animate scores with the scores. And this is the last function that we will add in this project today. Okay. So animate scores is somewhere. Start to feel like it's getting done. Maybe it's not getting done after all. Oh, okay. Okay, for the animate scores, think I'm going to do I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I don't know what is happening here, but I will write a new function. So animate scores, targets, and scores. So which targets and what scores are they getting? And I'm going to just loop through them. And if scores is not null, I'm going to say.
Is null empty also or not?
So I don't know. Something is off my lists here, so I'm not sure what is wrong.
Okay.
But if it doesn't work, then I will have to consider. Okay, if it's not null, targets of I set options URL. I will change the URL to some image that I created before, and the name of the image is gonna be the score. So scores of I plus
Yeah.
0.png. So note that my images are actually called 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I have different images from 10% to 100%. And the scores are going to be from 1 to 10. So I need to add an extra 0 and a PNG there. Okay. Let's see what happens. So refresh this. Error. Set options. Again, I'm forgetting that this set options function from the marker, from the Google marker, accepts, awaits for a object to come here. Score unvisited. Nothing happens. Okay, let's go to our animate scores function, put a breakpoint in it, call it again. Score unvisited. And now what do we have here? So we have targets. Target of 0 is the winner, so that function worked. Target 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way until 12. The URL should be. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not called URL, it's called icon. The icon of the marker is going to change to something else. So I created now a new attribute, same like I did for special. It's not something I wanted to do. Okay. Something is happening, but again I need these icon sizes and so on. So the icon, I can't just do that. Old icon targets a get icon, so it has all the properties there, size and whatever. I'm going to change the URL of the old icon to that value, and I'm going to replace the icon with this new one from here. Okay, not old anymore, it's a temporary icon that suffered some changes. So trying again. Wow. How did one S disappear? Maybe it was never there, so it's images. Okay, so it happens so that I have 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, and 60%. Tried it again, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 20, and 50. So if you try it multiple times, you will get some kind of different distribution there. It's not a guarantee that the correct one is going to be highlighted with the highest number. It will depend a bit on luck also, but it is a guarantee that it will have at least 40%. So you are giving the audience some kind of reasonable upper hand of the situation. Okay. Let's try to simulate the playing one more time. Yeah, well, that's fast. Okay, 50-50. Okay, now the public scored something. It's not going here, but okay. So it's kind of there. It's missing a few sounds. So I still want to do that because I found also those good sounds. Reveal 1 and reveal 2. So they will be some sounds for what happens when you meet the public or do the 50-50. So they are here in the sounds folder, reveal 1 and reveal 2. And in my sound.js I need to have functions for them. Play 50. Let's just do that. Play public. Reveal 2. And yeah. And now in our reveal animation, I'm going to put play 50 here. Okay, and play public. So finally, one or a couple of more tests. Okay, let's play the medium version now. Not doing what I want. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna simulate playing with a little bit of extra help if needed. So that was the reveal, the 50-50. Okay, this was now the public which voted that one with 100%. Yeah, so it works. I still need 5 minutes to show you something. So sorry for it, but I want to get it over with. So now we have a website, we have a page. I'm not going to teach this anymore, the mobile packaging, but I'm going to demonstrate it, and I'm going to point to last year's video where I did that. It's very easy how to implement. It uses Android Studio, and we are building basically a Android app. The only thing that we build here is this web view component, which means that we are basically building a browser. So we are using a web view component from Android to make a browser inside our app, and we will make our browser point to the URL that we want to open. So we make an app that is essentially a browser with the hard-coded URL, and it will look like this after compiling. So you have an app called Where is Mopsi? I made an icon for it also. I press it, it opens, and this is the web page. So it's as easy as that, but there are things here that you need to consider, like granting permissions, maybe here saying that I want good accuracy for location, enable JavaScript, otherwise it won't work. So there are some things that you will learn from that video that I will link, but other than that, this is now the Android simulator. I'm going to start a medium game, and okay, here you can also fake the GPS location. So for example, here I'm gonna modify this 9 into an 8. So my location updated, it seems to work. Do test the app, so I'm going to put also this app on the website as well as just the web page, which you know. And one more thing is very important. If you don't want to use a web page, you can package the web page inside your app. So I'm going to open this assets directory from here. It's currently empty. Okay. I'm going to go into our Where's Mopsi project, and I'm going to copy everything from here into the assets directory. So I copy all the web page into the assets directory, okay, inside the mobile phone. Now I go back to the code, and I simply say that I want to load from the assets directory index.html from here. So I don't have any more real URL from the internet. I just want to load the web page from here, and I'm going to debug this app on my emulator here. So I'm using Nexus 5 as the emulator, and now it's compiling. It takes some time, but now it loads the app locally, so it's not going to need internet and it's not going to connect to internet to load the game elements, like, for example, how the markers look like, or I don't know, oops, anything else. It does need internet to show the Google map. So you still need.
Not necessarily, because it's possible to download some maps of Google Maps.
It is, but I'm not sure how to make those downloaded maps reused by the web browser app. Of course, you can still play this without a map. Now, how to improve this game, I'm sure you can think of many ways. One thing is accessibility. I generated here some targets are on the lake. OSRM and Google have these kind of map matching methods. So when generating random points, I can ask Google, can you please put me the nearest road, maybe, from that. Overpass API takes also buildings into consideration. You may want to avoid some building, because if the target is over a building you don't have access to, you don't get 20 meters close to it. So this can be improved, and I can think also of ways, and I'm sure you can think also some ways. But for the moment, at least, I'm going to keep it.